Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here, and I think doing a hybrid approach is great. I really look forward to meeting or seeing a lot of you in person once we get that rolling. So thank you for your leadership in proposing that, because it is important to be together and connected. Um, I will start off the meeting by asking if there are any public comments. And that can either be through a physical raise of your hand or the Teams chat function, or the Teams raise hand function rather. Um, so I'll just give it a few seconds for folks to find that if they want to make a public comment. All right. Seeing none, and I don't see anything in the chat. I will help monitor that, Brian. I'm an
Thank
old
you.
pro. Okay, so seeing none, going once, going twice. All right, sold. Thank you. Then we will turn to the consent agenda. There are two items on the agenda for resolution approval, and I will ask Brian to describe them.
Yeah, so thank you for that comment, by the way, tracking the comments. I wrote that down in my notes, Hank. I can't see the comments, so I'll relay that to the team. So we've got two items up for resolution. One is the meeting minutes from our May 24th meeting. And then secondly, we've got an approval extension memo. These are prior board approved transactions. We're just asking for a 120-day extension from today so that the team can get those projects possibly closed. So that's the second resolution. And then the third bullet point there is to just for folks to know with regards to transactions that the staff approved subject to the comprehensive plan and budget, any transaction under 500,000 and no more in aggregate than $1 million for the deployment committee, the process is to just report it out through the memo. When we have a board meeting and we want to clear the queue, we have to have a resolution. So in this case, we're just reporting it out. We're providing the memo. So those are the two resolutions up for the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And now I'll ask if anyone wants to move the motion, after which we can have some discussion. But does anyone want to move the motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes resolutions 1 and 2?
This is Lonnie. I'll move to approve.
This is Bettina. I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion that folks want to have? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Any nays among the group? And any abstentions? Okay, thank you. I think the motion passes. The next agenda item, I believe, is other business. We have some time set aside for that, and I think Brian wanted to provide an update on the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund that I know we've all been working so hard on.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you for that, Commissioner. And folks, if there are other business that you want to raise, think about them. We'll come to that item as well. So yeah, October 12th is the big day. Let's go to the next slide there, Joe. Perfect. Thank you. So we've got three proposals that are due underneath the $27 billion Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. You might recall, we've just been talking about it quite a bit. There are three objectives to it. One is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and other air pollutants. The second is to increase the benefits from projects that do that, specifically for low-income and disadvantaged communities. And then the third is to mobilize investment in those types of projects for the benefit of low-income and disadvantaged communities. So that's just the top-level overview of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. I would say that Commissioner Webster and his team are working super hard leading the effort on the Solar for All application. This is the $7 billion Bernie Sanders residential solar, community solar, associated storage, and enabling upgrades competition. There will be up to 60 winners. The EPA did receive a notice of interest from DEEP on behalf of the Connecticut Consortium on July 31st. As well as I think what was it, 47 other states? I think Florida may not have submitted. A few other states like that may not have submitted. But in the end, the EPA did receive about 300 notices of intent from municipalities, tribes, nonprofit organizations totaling about $40 billion. So there's going to be a big competition for that seven. The team is working super hard. They're doing a great job underneath the leadership of Lauren Savage. Each agency has their representatives on it. I think Managing Director Josh Ryer at Pura. On the Green Banks front, we got Sarah Harari leading the way for us and coordinating for all of us. So, and then our Department of Housing and Connecticut Housing and Finance Authority round out the consortium. So we've got 3 weeks. The team is pretty close to having a draft of the proposal. They're still fine tuning the letters of support, pulling together the budget. So working hard to pull all of that together. Anything else, Commissioner, you want to talk about on Solar for All?
No, I just want to echo, your comments. It's been a fantastic collaborative effort amongst the teams. A lot of hard work on that. I think this is going to have a really big impact for folks. Obviously, with all the competition nationwide, I think a lot of other people see the opportunity as well. So we'll just have to keep fighting for our unfair share. But yeah, I think this is an excellent example of interagency collaboration, and really appreciate all the support and effort from everybody that's worked on it.
Fantastic. Fingers crossed. We got Commissioner, like 3 weeks ago, a notice from the EPA that they were changing the rules a bit. So we actually were going underneath a pretty ambitious proposal. Those changed the rules, knocked us down a bit. So we're going after $100 million proposal instead of a much larger proposal. But happy to go into some details on that. The other two are the National Clean Investment Fund. This is for 2 to 3 national nonprofits that will be administering effectively a national climate bank. Our team here at the Green Bank's been working super hard with a number of different applicants that are going to be applying for that roughly $14 billion of funding. Bert, Eric have been leading the way outside of the Coalition for Green Capital. So they've been working on with a number of different possible applicants, including the Climate Justice Fund. I'll let Bert speak to some of the specifics there. And then we've also all been working on the Coalition for Green Capital application. For those of you who know, Reed Hunt used to serve on the board of the Connecticut Green Bank. He was involved advocating back in 2009 for the American Clean Energy and Securities Act's inclusion of the Clean Energy Deployment Authority, which would have been a national climate bank. When that failed, of course, he came to Connecticut and worked with Governor Malloy, Dan Estey, to create Section 99 of Public Act 1180, which effectively created the Connecticut Green Bank. And then last year, of course, in the Inflation Reduction Act, we had the $27 billion, and this $14 billion from the NCIF comes into that. So we're all working away. We would effectively be either a sub-awardee or a sub-recipient for various nonprofit applicants to the NCIF. We have communicated a desire to support programs that are consistent with our comprehensive plan, like green homes, working alongside DEEP, Pura, the utilities in terms of ensuring that we're reaching all of our clean energy goals for homeowners, single family affordable housing, weatherization, all the way to clean energy storage. You could think of the whole gamut there underneath green homes, green schools. We're lifting up a proposal that had been proposed in the legislature this year, trying to support more deployment of solar and storage on schools, green municipal buildings and commercial buildings. You can see the thread of green in a lot of this. Green school buses, supporting DEEP and the Department of Transportation build out towards the target of 100% zero emission school buses by 2030, and then 100% statewide. That was in environmental justice communities by 2030, and then statewide all school districts by 2040. So not only the vehicles, but supporting the EV infrastructure that has to be built out to support those vehicles, working with the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority there. We're also lifting up Public Act 21-115, which is our environmental infrastructure bill. You might recall this was a Governor Lamont-led bill. Within the provisions of the bill, there was no funding, but there was recognition of future potential federal funding, including the National Climate Bank. So we've identified land conservation, agriculture in the context of possible support through that funding. So those are our priorities consistent with the comprehensive plan that we're looking to receive support for in the context of the NCIF. Bert, anything you want to add on the NCIF? Okay, well, we'll come back to Bert.
Nope.
There you are.
Nope, you covered it.
Great.
You're good. Thank you.
Then the final is $6 billion is the Clean Communities Investment Accelerator. So where the NCIF is about creating 2 to 3 national nonprofits that serve as like a national climate bank, you could think of the CCIA as a source of funding that's going to go out to community lenders across the country. So think about that $6 billion as, no single community lender can receive more than $10 million. So you're likely to see, 500 to 1,000 different community lenders. The Green Bank, we're a community lender. We're specifically laid out in definitions. Green banks are. Our community development financial institutions like Capital for Change that we partner with are. Credit unions are partners. So various things fall underneath the definition of community lenders. So we are working with a number of different applicants. Again, we can't apply. Nonprofit organizations have to apply. There will be 2 to 7 hubs that the funding will go into and then go out to various respective community lenders across the country and all those different channels. One of the things that we're working on, because we want to ensure in all of these funds, to the commissioner's point that Connecticut gets its unfair share, is we're working with our local state chartered credit unions through Commissioner Perez at the Department of Banking, who's been super about helping us think about the Community Reinvestment Act in the context of our climate change and clean energy policy, and being great about facilitating meetings with the credit unions that he oversees and regulates. So the goal here being, if we could bring in more credit unions on top of what we do with our Smarty loan program, there might be a number of other initiatives that we work on with credit unions to support the state's clean energy and climate policies. We can bring in a number of other financial institutions through that mechanism. So we're probably the only state I think that's thinking that way. But again, we're trying to ensure that Connecticut gets its unfair share of the greenhouse gas reduction fund. Those proceeds up to $10 million have to be used in 3 priority areas, as well as can be used in climate and nature-based solutions as well. So we're putting together our letters of support for several of the applicants who will be applying into each of these tranches. Bert, anything else there, Eric? And then happy to take questions, comments. October 12th, that'll be a big day for all of us.
All good. All good.
Ideally a few days before. But,
Don't want to
yes.
crash those systems. Yeah.
I think we're on track to be in well ahead of time, so which is good.
One other point in speaking to, so yesterday I was with Commissioner Perez in Washington, D.C., speaking to other state bank regulators who are, oversee state chartered banks and credit unions. So we were talking about this opportunity. But I also had a coffee with Dan DeSimone, who represents Governor Lamont in the D.C. office. So he just flagged for all of us that it's likely that there will be a government shutdown. So we need to really start putting the press on pulling together our letters of support, Hank, like as we think about the governor and the congressional delegation, just kicking that up a notch so that we can get that done before with the potential government shutdown.
Brian,
yeah, and-
what is the date the curtain would go down?
Dan said the first. He
Okay,
said
yeah, that's what I
target
heard.
the first. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to get on, calls to brief the staffers. We're sending Dan drafts of letters to start coordinating just so that we can get in queue and hopefully in 10 days have those drafts done and signed.
As the husband of a federal employee, it is very pertinent in our household. So it's a good reminder that it'd be better to be on the front side of that than the back because chaos can ensue. So, is there any other questions or discussion on this or any other points for the good of the order? Give everybody a second to raise their physical or virtual hands. Okay, well then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Lonnie, so moved.
Bettina,
Matt,
second.
Good, Bettina.
All
I was
in
waiting for
favor?
you to get in there first.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, then we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, for your
Thanks,
time.
everybody.
Thank
And
you.
Good
enjoy the rest
job.
of the week.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.